I was not financially well. So I had to support myself and I started washing, cleaning buses. And one day, when I was cleaning the bus, a middle-aged man, he walked up to me and he looked into my eyes and he said, "Son, why are you doing this pathetic job?" At first I felt ashamed of myself and the job that I was doing. And I was walking home when my neighbor boy, he called out to me and he said, "Sachin, you failed in English." I said to myself, well, did I fail in English? I'm going to do a master's in English. I'm going to master this language. My name is Sachin Zarni. I'm an author, leadership coach, communicating English trainer, and founder and CEO of Beacons Academy. When I was born in a broken family. I was lonely, I was extremely introverted and sensitive, and I was always silent. And my silence was misused. And I was bullied as a child. I was mentally, physically, and emotionally abused. And it was when I was studying in the second standard, for the first time I stood on a stage. And it was one of the most frightening things that I had ever encountered in my life. So as I was standing in front of an audience to sing a song, one of my favorite songs, and as I began to sing the first line, suddenly I heard a sound from behind the audience. And the moment I heard it, I stopped singing. I could not remember any lyrics. I began to breathe heavily and began to sweat. I stood there for one more minute and left the stage and never returned to the stage for another 10 years. That pain, that experience, that fear that I got from that stage, it controlled me over 10 years. It controlled my decisions, my choices. When you go through painful experiences, failures, or obstacles, life gives you two options. You can either surrender to them or you can learn and overcome them. And I chose the latter one. And when I was studying in high school, that was the time I was much concerned about how I looked. And every day after the school, I would go to the barber shop and I would look at myself and compare my external beauty to others. And all I see in me was the flaws, the lacks, the things that I didn't have. So I got the group photo and I went back home, and as I was looking at the photo, all I saw in it was the things that I didn't have, the flaws, the things that I lacked. And every time I looked at it, I became more angrier and I hated myself. And I took a pen out of the box and I began to discolor my face. Soon, I tore the photo apart and I threw it outside. That day, I buried my true self, my true identity, deep in the darkness. From that day onwards, I could not face people. I wouldn't dare to stand in front of a crowd. I was afraid to talk to people, communicate with people. One day I was coming home and one of my neighbors, she called out to me and she said, "Sachin, why are you always walking, bending your head down?" And that is the first time I realized I used to walk with my head bending down. So my internal thoughts, my self-image, it had a physical impact on me. And it affected how I looked, my personality and my character. Back then, I was not financially well. So my parents, they used to sleep in the kitchen. So I had to support myself and I started washing, cleaning buses. And one day, when I was cleaning the bus, a middle-aged man, he walked up to me and he looked into my eyes and he said, "Son, why are you doing this pathetic job? You must be studying now." When he said that, at first I felt ashamed of myself, and the job that I was doing. But then suddenly a thought occurred to me. One day I would be somebody. One day I would be successful. Now that was a vague hope for me because back then I was nobody, didn't have any hope. And I began to dream That actually, literally, that thought gave me confidence to dream and to hope. After that, I started my intermediate. I didn't really like learning or studying from college, so I would usually spend my time in theaters and near the riverside called Kundipura. And after the examination, it was the day my result came, and I was walking home when my neighbor boy, he called out to me and he said, "Sachin, you failed in English." And the moment I heard that, I said to myself, instead of being disappointed, I said to myself, well, did I fail in English? And I'm going to do a master's in English. I'm going to master this language. And I went back home, I studied harder, and I rewrote the exam. I passed it, and then I asked my father that I wanted to continue my education, wanted to pursue a degree in BA English. And I went to a famous college, met the chairman of the college, and I told him that I wanted to pursue the same subject that I failed. And seeing my determination, they took me in, and first year finished. I wrote the exams. Unfortunately, I failed in almost all the exams except Malayalam, which is my mother tongue. But I was determined. I continued the second year and I wrote the exams, but again, I failed in almost all the subjects except Malayalam. Now, I began to doubt myself and I quit. And I went on to study mechanical engineering. I focused on diesel mechanic. I was really disappointed at myself. And then, I began to think about myself. I started my journey thinking, believing that I could do something better. And I, pulled myself together and I started to continue my education in degree. And somehow I studied harder. I was awake all the nights and I studied harder. And finally, I was able to finish my degree. So as I finished my graduation, I asked myself this big question, why? What to do next? So it was the time when my friend called me from Hyderabad and he offered me a job in Hyderabad. And that's when I realized the importance of learning this language, this universal language. Because wherever I go, no matter if it is a textiles or a tea shop, I could see people talking English. And that's when I realized, if I could master this language, if I could learn this, perhaps I could talk to everyone. And that's when I realized the importance of language. And I began to learn. Every night I would be awake learning each vocabulary, grammar, listening to podcasts, listening to news and Hollywood movies. And that's how I began to learn. Today, I am a founder and CEO of Beacons Academy. I'm a leadership coach and a communicative English trainer. So the moment I began to learn English language, I saw many opportunities blooming in front of me, right in front of me. And it indeed paved the path toward a better future. And today, I'd love to share a few tips with you to learn, to master this language. And, from my background, from where I came from, I can assure you that no matter where you're from or what your capability or what your financial status is, you can master the skills. And here is the first tip. Change your mindset. When I was a little boy, I used to hate myself. I used to believe that nothing is possible. And there was a time when I realized that all the things that I was taught, that I was conditioned to believe, was a lie. And when I realized that, I began to see the other side of life, the possibilities, the opportunities. When you change your mindset from I can't, I don't, to I can and I do, you begin to see a different world with new possibilities, with new opportunities. So change your perspective, change your mindset, because that's where the key factor lies in. And the second one is find the need, the why. Usually when I ask my students, what they need, why they need to learn this language, or why do they need to pursue a particular career, a particular skill, they usually say, everybody does that. I think that's better for me. But I would say find a more compelling, motivating why or the need, because that is the one that fuels you to move toward that goal. And the next technique is learning the pattern. Every skill, everything that you learn is a pattern. Your brain learns the pattern, the sequence, when it learns something. And one of the best way to learn a language, learn the pattern, is to learn grammar. Grammar is literally how the structure of the language. And if you can learn one pattern, one structure, you can build thousands of sentences out of that one structure. And that's exactly what I did. I began to learn the structure, the pattern, how the words presented itself. And then I began to learn the language much, much more easier. And the next point is have a learning habit. When I was learning, I used to wake up early in the morning and I used to do some exercises. And as soon as I finished the exercises, I would go into my reading room and I would read for 1 hour. After the exercises, it literally gave me much energy, and reading, in fact, completely changed my mindset, my perspective, and it gave me confidence. So have a learning habit. Usually before I sleep, I would write my journals. Writing journal is one of the habits that you can use, that you can grow in your personal life. Writing journal not only helps you to improve your language, but also it helps you to improve your character, your personality, because now you're reflecting on your thoughts, reflecting on your behavior. So start writing. So that's exactly what I did. And finally, find the best mentor and the best institute, that is quite affordable for you. Because when you invest your money, your effort, your time on an institute, you keep a mutual agreement, and that person, that teacher or that mentor also invest in yourself to help you out, to bring out the best in you. So there are millions of teachers, millions of academies, institutions that actually give you, help you out to master this language. So find out the best affordable institution or an academy that can literally help you to master the language. So the guy who is standing right now here is the same person who used to wash buses, who used to fail in every subject, who used to be nobody. But I changed my fate. I changed my story, and so can you.
अगर आप भी इस वीडियो के एंड तक पहुंच गए हैं तो मेरी तरह ही आप भी इंस्पायर जरूर हुए होंगे, आपको भी मोटिवेशन मिली होगी अपने सपनों को पूरा करने की। दोस्तों, सपने तो हम सभी देखते हैं, लेकिन हम में से कुछ ही लोग अपने सपनों को पूरा करने में सक्सेसफुल हो पाते हैं। मैं आपको बताना चाहती हूं कि जो भी इंसान अपने गोल्स को अचीव करने में सक्सेसफुल होता है, उन सभी में कुछ कॉमन स्किल्स होती हैं, जैसे कि अच्छी कम्युनिकेशन स्किल्स जो कि स्पोकन इंग्लिश से आती हैं। और दोस्तों, हम सभी इस स्किल को मास्टर करके अपनी लाइफ में आगे बढ़ सकते हैं जोश स्किल्स ऐप के साथ। इस ऐप में हम 1 by 1 वोकैबुलरी के नए वर्ड्स, ग्रामर प्रैक्टिसेस, रीडिंग और राइटिंग प्रैक्टिसेस के साथ साथ अपने जैसे अन्य हजारों स्टूडेंट्स के साथ ऑनलाइन इंग्लिश में लाइव बात करके अपनी इंग्लिश को वर्ल्ड क्लास बना सकते हैं। आज ही अपनी सक्सेस की तरफ पहला कदम लें, भारत के नंबर 1 स्पोकन इंग्लिश ऐप जोश स्किल्स के साथ।